In the startup world, problem solving isn't just a strategy, it's what drives innovation, attracts investment, and ultimately leads to sustainable success. Today's show highlights three startups whose founders had a very personal problem to solve. From problem to passion, Expert Connections starts now. Are often defined by their ability to solve problems, not just as a pathway to success, but at the very core of why they exist in the first place. Welcome to Expert Connections. I'm your host, Julie Holton Smith. Today's Startup Connections offers a closer look at three businesses we've featured using technology to solve real-world problems.
When I was teaching, I just realized a need in the world that families that had a child on the spectrum or with any disability seem to not be like having the same types of experiences as families that don't have a child with a disability. Like they aren't going out in their community, they aren't traveling the same way other families are. And we would go on field trips, and time after time after time I would hear parents say, oh, that's her first time at a restaurant, or that's his first time at the movies, or her first time at the apple orchard. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is something that I take for granted, that I can just do that so easily with my kids. And that's just not everybody's reality. So that was my identification of the problem. And I'm like, okay, there has to be a solution to this problem. I had no idea what that solution was at that time. The Americans with Disabilities Act is obviously a law in place that ensures that public places are accessible for people with physical disabilities. But we don't have anything for people with invisible disabilities, which is a huge chunk of the population. The most recent statistic is almost 27% of the population has some form of physical or invisible disability, and 80% of that 27% is invisible disabilities. So what could be the tool that helps those families access their community and travel? That was one piece of it. The other piece is that I had a best friend, Jessica, who was, she had muscular dystrophy and was a wheelchair user. Her and I lived together at college. We went to Central Michigan University, and
Fire
we
up
had
chips.
fire up chips. We had a fabulous experience. However, when I look back on that experience, I think, man, we really went to the same few places over and over again. And we did that because we knew that she could get in the door, that she could navigate around, and that she could use the restroom. And had we had information about other places, we would have certainly had more experiences, and more businesses would have gotten our business and our money. And so it's like a win-win situation. So eventually what I came to the conclusion of was that what people are missing is information.
So the whole idea is to be able to allow for more people to have these experiences by giving them the information in advance to be able to know what they're going to encounter. As a mother with a son with special needs, cognitive disabilities, I can tell you in firsthand, and you and I have had many conversations about this, the ability to prepare in advance and to, for someone who needs a plan in place and needs to know what he's going to encounter when he gets there. These are the things that many people who are abled do not even realize. What does AbleEyes do in order to provide people that look, if you will, into a space before they go?
What if every business had a virtual tour and they could see and walk through and navigate the space ahead of time? And a little bit differently than, any virtual tour is helpful, but what if you just expand that lens a little bit and start it in the parking lot and the pathway to the door, and then inside of a business, and go into the restrooms and show the accessible stall? That's really not, it's only a few extra pictures to include those extra spaces that would, again, attract over a quarter of the population and their loved ones. So that's what AbleEyes is a virtual tour photography company. We provide virtual tours all over the US for this purpose. It's also a great marketing tool for businesses just in general. It's been used in the marketing world for years and years. So it's something they put on their website, and it's going to really attract all customers. So that's the original vision with AbleEyes.
It was something that I needed to survive during my second year of law school at Michigan State University. I started selling my plasma twice a week to make ends meet during law school, to pay for my books, to pay for school, the rising costs of living. And it was something I was doing for about 6 months. I did selling my plasma twice a week until my doctor said, you physically are incapable of doing it anymore. It's making you sick. You can't afford to buy the right foods. Now you're making your body sick. I had shingles when I was 21. Not all good things to have when you're so young and in law school. So I started an alternative route, posting on Facebook groups, asking local homeowners if they needed help with gardening and anything horticulture related. My parents are horticulturists, and I was willing to do anything to get a couple extra bucks to pay for the bills. Ultimately, that transitioned into a small student group as local residents were asking almost too much of me. Like there was too many people. Actually, my first post I put out, I remember there was about 133 responses on the Facebook post from people saying, I would love to hire a college student, not a general contractor, not a other companies. They want a college student, somebody trustworthy, reliable, and let's just face it, young, at their home, somebody they can trust. And I fit the demographic. It was great, and I did a lot of the work. And a lot of my friends did the work, and we eventually transitioned from just me doing jobs into a small student group and LLC that we were basically running a small company off of a Trello board, a website where people could input what sort of job they needed, put the description, the price, the time, and students would literally comment on that little post and ask me, hey, I want this job, I want this job. And we'd have to see, all right, who said it first? Who wanted the job first? And then we'd contact the client, go through the whole payment process manually, and get the jobs done. And something that it was good for us to do manually at first, so we could really learn about the market, learn about our clients before we built technology later on, to where now everything happens very seamlessly. We have matchmaking algorithms that mimic that the likes of Uber and Grubhub that take into account our students' availability, their rating, their preferences for jobs, and all those different factors, and creates a list of the most likely students who want to go do those jobs and notifies them of the opportunities for which they can accept, go to the job, and get payment all in the same day. And I don't even know about it sometimes. I mean, we have a dashboard where jobs happen. Perhaps right now, as we're sitting on this interview, there are jobs that have been posted, booked, and happening all at once. And that's the power of the new technology we've built. But it's taken 2.5 years from me posting on Facebook into this iteration of technology we've built, which has been exciting for us to do. Iteration is everything.
Starting at a gardening level using Facebook community pages into an LLC that was more like a job board, now to what we have today, which is a matchmaking algorithm that's the engine for bringing our businesses and students together. Me and Adam talking has been so powerful of starting our morning with our daily stand-up and strategy meeting of how did you get to this point for this particular topic, and trying to glean that information. And then we decide, what's the point that we want to get to? And then what are the milestones between here and there so that we can get there? And so it hasn't been a challenge. It's actually been a really fun opportunity, but Adam has been very forthcoming with how did he evolve and how did he get here? And then we talk about what the evolution looks like for the next steps.
One of the reasons why you started this company to shine a spotlight on this taboo topic that should not be taboo, that we should be talking more about, and that's women and our periods.
We culturally talk about and act towards our periods as though they are a problem, as though they are this condition to be managed, but only quietly, right? And I was saying a couple of days ago, and it really brought tears to my eyes, that we talk about our periods and we kind of cut them out of our life, like this gigantic piece of us, of our bodies that we were made with for a purpose, on purpose. We just shove it in a drawer with our tampons, right? And we don't acknowledge the tremendous influence that it has all the time, right? It isn't just that week that we're actively menstruating. Our cycle goes on constantly, and we're always in a different part of our cycle, but women aren't taught that. We don't know that. We're only given very negative language from the beginning of our cognizance about getting a period. And so we are conditioned to expect that they're going to be awful, right? We're conditioned to keep them completely quietly, and we're given no support to handle either of those burdens. So we're trying to blow the lid off of those 3 issues with the Pick Me Up box. And so I thought to myself, I just want to be able to order a gift. Like we would give people presents for everything. There's subscription boxes for everything. I want something to come to my door when my period starts. What I want is some acknowledgement that my body is amazing. And this is also hard sometimes. How can I get that? So I looked and looked and looked, and I couldn't find anything. I found boxes that send me tampons or pads, and some of them include a piece of chocolate or whatever, but there was nothing that I felt like really combined kind of how sacred this process is, how divine this process is, with a socially minded lens. And so you asked about what products are in the box. And what I've decided to do is to source these self-care products as much as I possibly can from female-founded, woman-owned and operated fair trade businesses. So every vendor that I buy from, I've had a conversation with. They know what I'm doing, they know why I'm doing it, and they send me products that are made by women for women in fair trade ways. And so I'm not sourcing cheaply from overseas to get things at a really low price point. I'm sourcing sustainable things that don't create more waste for the environment and also help other women-owned businesses.
Some people roll right from dry January into sober February. What about an entire year that's sober-ish? I met you recently at a pitch competition. You were pitching, I was judging, and I remember you joking because it resonates so much with me. You had joked that after that last startup, you maybe weren't going to do it again. And then, of course, here we are. So tell us about Soberish. Where did this idea come from? This idea that you just couldn't quite say no to?
So, growing that last startup, I would go home, not necessarily every day, but a couple times a week and definitely on the weekends. And I would have a glass of wine or a cocktail to take the edge off. And, after the acquisition of that company, I couldn't just go home and drink all day. Well, you can't do that. And I'm not, a perky pigeon anymore. I can't throw back tequila like I could before. Also, my mom, who struggles with alcohol, recently moved in with us. And so I started exploring non-alcoholic alternatives, but I still wanted that buzz, but without the booze, and found some different products that really did what they said. They gave me a buzz without the booze. So I started reviewing them, and I love all things social media. And so I started recording. My mom and I would record ourselves trying these drinks, and a couple of videos went viral. Brands started reaching out for us to try the drinks and give our review. And I threw up a landing page just to see how many people were actually going to my video, because I'm a nerd, going to my video, clicking on it and purchasing. And in one short month, I was able to generate over $60,000 in sales for these brands. And it was hold up, this is real money. This isn't just a couple $100, this is real money. And so again, looking just like with the last app, I saw a big sober curious movement, that a lot of people were playing with their sobriety. And it wasn't necessarily that they had a bad relationship with alcohol, but it's just some people don't want to drink for lots of reasons. So I was looking for a solution where I could find, buy, and review these products, and there really wasn't one out there. And so that's where I was like, something like this needs to happen. And then I was toying around with a name, and I'm like, it's sober, but not really. That's just too boring. It's sober-ish. And then, me, I was like, go daddy, Soberish available. So that's kind of where it came from.
Yeah, marketing pro tip, always make sure the domain is available, right? Okay, so tell us then, so that evolved. What exactly is Soberish? How do you describe it to your market?
Yeah, so Soberish is an e-commerce platform where we pair both great content in communities with products and brands that deliver a buzz. So think Amazon for all things for a sober, curious community. So you can go and find non-alcoholic wines or hemp-derived beverages, ready to drink in cans, to mushroom elixirs and all kinds of things. And then we also, though, because there was so much stigma in the market, not necessarily for the sober market, but on the cannabis side of the market for hemp-derived products, which are federally legal, there's still a lot of stigma. And so there was a lot of people who wanted to maybe get into this space, but were really apprehensive. They didn't know either one how, or they were maybe embarrassed to ask. And so I really just tried to, I don't want to say dumbify things, but keep it in really simple, approachable language at Soberish, that it's just like you and I are talking, like, hey girl, let me explain this to you. It's this, this, and this. Like, trying to keep it super easy and feel like I can be, your BFF together.
That is all for this episode of Expert Connections. Do you have a startup that is solving problems? We want to hear from you. Be sure to comment below, reach out to us, join the conversation, and of course, subscribe to Expert Connections. I'm your host, Julie Holton Smith. We'll see you over in the next video.